The Night King Who Returned with a God. Chapter 12. Chapter 12. Upon returning to Earth, Leon had 3 goals. First, he wanted to spread the faith since there are no true gods here. If Jehovah, Buddha, Allah, and the countless devas the Hindus speak of were real, at least some of their saints would have joined the fight against the demons. But there were no priests or saints endowed with divine powers, whether cardinals, priests, or fanatics chanting Allahu Akbar in the 2030s. By its very nature, the destruction of demons requires the most powerful force of all, holy power, and yet not a shred of that power exists. There are no gods that transmit divine power to the priests of cathedrals and mosques. In essence, God gives His grace through faith. If you think about what happened in the plains of Hunan right now, the concept of the land being polluted and a bad year coming is wrong. How can a land that has been worshipped and blessed by the goddess of life and abundance be polluted? And how can the god of rain and clouds send down rain? And how can there be a bad year? Just look at the crops. Rice, which has been improved and grown with the best technology of the 21st century, cannot cure even a small tumor inside the body. Does it make sense to expect people to go through the barbaric practice of healing in hospitals instead of sanctuaries because they can't cure a single tumor? The problem is getting sick in the first place. If they had been eating the crops Demira had blessed, they could not have gotten sick. Healing is reserved for soldiers wounded on the battlefield or cursed by evil cultists. To harness holy power, Leon had to spread the faith. Leon managed to deal with the issue in Hunan Plains using the holy power he had, but for what was to come, he would need great power. His world ultimately fell to the demons because there were no more believers. The second was the rebuilding of the Holy Knights. In this world, there is no group that fights using holy power. If the Grail Guardian, the Lionheart King, is a demigod, the Holy Knights are the next level below him, living saints. They are the knights of the gods who use the holy law. They fought to the last man, and as they ascended, their holy power kept Leon alive. The Holy Knights of Ariana, the goddess of light and justice. Sir Jenkins, the guardian of the sea, who guarded the harbor and served Poma, the god of the sea and waves. Sir Genoa, knight of the flame, who served Pedos, the god of war and fire. Anak, a holy maiden who supported the knights with the light of Demera, the goddess of life and fertility. As empires crumbled along with the great forests of the elves and the underground cities of the dwarves, the holy knights continued to slay demons. They were the terror of the demons. The third purpose was to annihilate the evils that installed themselves upon this land. He had to restore divinity by spreading faith and to train holy knights in the harmony and order of a proper pantheon. Perhaps it's too much to hope for superpowered saints called holy knights to emerge from the lowly unbelievers and ignorant commoners. However, Leon Dragonia Lionheart will do what he had to do. Your Majesty, there is someone who has duly requested an audience. If the formalities have been followed, there is no reason why I shouldn't meet him. Leon guessed who it was and allowed him to come. Director Park Jong-chan realized that the survivor named Leon was very much like him. The way the man from the barbarian civilization acted like he was royalty and puffed himself up was a bit much for him, a modern-day Earth aristocrat. But apart from that, he coveted Leon's abilities. He could make crops grow in an instant, but they were still fit for human consumption. What's more, his powers are not ordinary. Curing cancer is one thing, but when he found out that Leon can also clean up land contaminated with miasma, he was blown away. This is a man we must have in our company. Thank you for allowing me to meet with you, Your Majesty. For the sake of corporate profits, he bowed to the barbarian for a moment. This is a small gift from my company to Your Majesty. Accompanied by his secretaries, he presented the gift to Leon. It was a weapon closet made by a master craftsman from the Dujong Guild, one of the top 10 guilds in Korea. Jong-chan planned to dazzle the barbarian with the splendor of the finest goods inside. Once you taste it, you'll never go back. I'll make you beg me to let you join our company. Mr. Park was looking forward to the reaction of Han Hari and Leon, who would be stunned by the enormity of the gift. But, okay, I'll take you up on your offer. You'll take it? What's with that attitude? It's like I'm the one who has to accept it. The arrogance made Mr. Park's teeth chatter, but he managed to keep a business smile on his face. Why don't you check it out? I'm sure you'll like it. Tsk. I can't be bothered to explain manners to an inferior being. Han Hari, open it. Leon insists that Hari open the gift, trying to make him feel even more annoyed. Hari immediately unwrapped it and swallowed hard. What is this? The neatly made closet expanded to reveal a weapons display with dozens of items on the shelves. These are the latest and greatest from our group. I hope you can pick out whatever you like. These are unique grade armor made by the Dujong Guild's own master. These were unique grade armor made by the Dujong Guild, a top 10 Korean guild controlled by the Dujong Group. They were so expensive that even high-ranking hunters would go out of their way to get them, even if they didn't have the money. I heard that you're going to be a hunter in the future, so these items will be of great help to you. Hearing those words, Hari found it difficult to breathe. The armors crafted by the Dujong Guild's master craftsmen were ultra-luxury items that cost $1 billion each. Unless you were lucky enough to get one in the gate, it was one of the finest things you could ever acquire through normal means. Hari swallowed hard at the sight of the unique sword, which she had only seen on a video throughout her time at the academy. What am I supposed to use such a lowly weapon for? Lowly? Your Majesty, what do you mean lowly? Leon's demeanor stunned Hari. Even though he was an otherworlder, how could he have such an attitude when he saw this pamphlet's picture? These are top-of-the-line items manufactured from compressed alloys using the most advanced magical engineering techniques. You can't get anything like this anywhere else. Mr. Park was trying to explain how much technology had been applied to the items he had brought and how expensive the materials were. Even the most savage of savages could understand what he was talking about. But Leon had a different perspective. How can you make a great sword that is not bathed in the light of the stars or blessed by the gods, and your armor is only used to hunt beasts? What does he mean? He wants us to dry the weapons in the sun like pepper and recite a prayer or something. Unknown to him, he was right on the money. Anyway, compared to my holy sword and holy spear, they're just toys. Tsk, tsk. How dare you bring something that hasn't even been blessed? You barbarian. Every survivor thinks that their world is the best. The dwarves as a craftsman race had a lot of pride, but their pride crumbled before the materials and metallurgy of modern civilization. No matter how many times a dwarven master forged a steel sword, it would bend before a normal longsword forged in a factory with modern technology and magical engineering. Ha, ha. You must be very confident in your sword, Your Majesty. I was merely stating the obvious. Leon summoned a sword from nowhere. Subspace magic? But I didn't sense any magical energy. It was an old iron sword that was missing a tooth here and there, worn out and unable to cut anything. Jong-chan wanted to ask what he could do with such a piece of junk, but when his gaze met Leon, he was speechless. You are full of distrust in this king. Oh, you misunderstand. It's not uncommon for merchants to bring me things. It's like using a cattle prod for a chicken, but I'll show you what I can do. Although thrilled, Mr. Park was troubled. Should I show him the difference in power and crush his confidence, or should I give him a modest defeat and make him feel good? How dare they devalue the Dujong Group's technical capabilities? Mr. Park felt he needed to take the initiative. Barbarian, I'll show you what real technology is. He couldn't help but smile as he continued. In that case, I'd like to sample the brilliance of Your Majesty's sword. Eh, Deputy Han Hari? Yes. Would you like to try out any of the armaments that catch your fancy? Hari glanced at Leon, and when he nodded, she gripped the sword she'd admired for 4 years, the Dawnbreaker of Master Park Jin Cheol. It had been forged for 10 days in a special gate, bathed in the intense energy of the sun, and its strength was unparalleled. Its special ability, sunlight, has the melting power to melt even the strongest special alloys, and with her fire blessing, it's a perfect match. Can I really wield this? Why bother asking an adult's permission to wield a toy? That asshole is going all the way to... Mr. Park's fever seemed to reach the top of his head, but he waited for the refreshing cider that was just around the corner. Holding her dream weapon, she admired it, and worried that Leon's weapon might break, but she couldn't do anything about it. She activated the Dawnbreaker's special function, and the blade turned red as a fierce energy enveloped him. Then, here we go! The sword she swung with all her might collided with Leon's old iron sword, with the result being, bang! Hari's sword broke. Huh? Hari, Mr. Park, and the secretary shook their heads while Leon was the only one with a free expression as he looked at the severed sword. You really did bring something useful as a toothpick. Put it away. What the hell is going on? Mr. Park's head was spinning at what was happening in front of him. The Dawnbreaker was a weapon of supreme cutting power that could easily cut through the hides and bones of high-level monsters. It was the most powerful weapon they could create, containing the essence of the Dujong Group's technology. That is a high-grade weapon. That old sword, no way. Survivors would occasionally bring over the world's best weapon, a high-grade weapon, but it was still the best they could do. An old, toothless sword like that couldn't possibly be such a weapon. I'll cut your time short. You have 3 minutes to finish what you have to say. Ah, no, that. No? This was supposed to be a steamroller. But how did this happen? Mr. Park tried to say something, but the words wouldn't come out of his mouth, and it wasn't until his secretary shook his shoulder that he finally came to his senses. Yeah, gifts are just a way to buy goodwill. It's a shame that $1 billion weapon was destroyed, but that's not what matters now. Leon, your majesties, what kind of courtesy is it for a lowly tradesman to speak of this king's dignity? Ugh, your majesty. His clenched teeth made a sound like they were about to crack. He had never been so disrespected and belittled in his life. Your Majesty, Dujong Group would like the exclusively purchase the rice you grew. The crops that I grew? Did you think I was a farmer? No. We just want to secure the seeds of the crops that His Majesty has allowed to grow in the Hunan Plains and grow them ourselves. You're going to convert? That's the most pleasant thing to come out of your mouth. What? What the hell do you mean, convert? That crop grows in a land blessed by priests who serve the gods of life and fertility. You intend to become one of those priests. I see you're quite ambitious for such a frivolous subject. Oh no, that's not it. Huh? Finding it difficult to follow Leon's words, Jong-chan saw no point in continuing, so he went straight to the point. We want to take over the patent rights to the seeds of that rice. Excuse me? Leon's eyes sharpened and Mr. Park hastened to add a condition. Of course it will come at a price. By our management's calculations, it was thought to be worth 180 billion won. It was a steal, of course. There's no way the seeds of a super rice that can cure cancer are worth only 180 billion won. But if he explained the value of 180 billion won to this ignorant barbarian, his eyes would probably roll. You mean you want to buy seeds with money? That's right, of course. But you'll have to sign a contract stating that only Dujong Future Foods can distribute it exclusively. Oh, and if you want, I can raise the price a bit more, depending on the negotiations. Mr. Park was looking forward to seeing how he could toy with this barbarian, undervalue the seeds, act as if he had nothing to lose, and bamboozle him with difficult explanations of the law and complicated distribution networks. As a natural businessman, Jong-chan had a knack for devaluing his opponents and adding to his own value. But how dare this lowly businessman blaspheme the divine? He didn't know that in front of him was standing the representative of all divinity and the most devout religious man.